we heard in the news last week that Sassa is asking for a 6-month extension whereby CPS will continue to distribute social grants. I mean, have they spoken to you about this?
We've had some initial conversations with them about a possible extension, but they applied to the court last week, made it clear to us that they felt that the court sanction was required before any detailed conversations took place with us. And so an application went in last week whereby they're asking the court for an order effectively that we continue with the payment of grants at cash pay points for the next 6-month period. On Friday, the court issued instructions that we all have an opportunity to respond to this application, and so those have to be in by Wednesday. And I'm sure that there'll be a lot of interest and responses. We obviously will also respond to the request, and hopefully we'll have directions from the court and an outcome before the 1st of April.
And what will you say? That you'll be willing to be on board?
We understand that we have an obligation to carry on. We've paid for the last 71 months all 10.8 million people on time and without any incident. We have the ability to continue to do so if that's what they wish us to do. And so obviously we're very willing to assist and to carry on under the correct terms and conditions.
Mm-hmm. And how's that handover to the post office going? How's that relationship going?
We haven't really been involved with any discussions between Sassa and the post office. We've asked the acting CEO of Sassa to set up a meeting for us to discuss the phase out period, and we're waiting for them to set a date. So at this point in time, we really haven't been a part of the discussions between Sassa and SAPO in terms of their phase in.
Sure. Now, Herman, I mean, everyone talks about the social grants contract as being sort of the cream of the cream. It's a lucrative contract, and in the event or when the time comes for, you know, Net1 to finally close its doors on it, what does the future of Net1 look like without it?
Yeah, it is a lucrative contract from a certain perspective. I guess financially, it's been a great contract for us over the last 6 years, although it is one with declining margins because the prices remained the same. But you know, Net1 is much more than grant distributions. We've worked very hard over the last 5 or 6 years to really internationalize and diversify the business. We have made investments in quite a few other businesses. In South Africa, we are now investors in Cell C and in DNI, so we are quite heavily involved on the mobile telephony, mobile transacting space, and that will be a focus area for us. We will continue to provide banking and financial services to our existing banking customers, of which we have about 2 million. So that's definitely something that we will focus on with our partner at Grindrod Bank. And then internationally, we've got quite a few investments that keep us quite busy. So, you know, Sassa as a business is roughly 24% of our revenue. That's what it was in the last financial year. And the rest is really made up of all the other ancillary businesses. So internationally, we have quite a large business in South Korea called KSNet. It's a large processing business.
Is that where you're processing cryptocurrencies?
No, we actually did some of the processing for one of the big crypto exchanges until about July last year. The area where we've done a lot of processing is actually in Europe. And I think in November last year, we announced that we were doing some processing for Bitstamp, which is one of the largest exchanges in the world. And that really is also one of the focus areas for us, not so much the cryptocurrency space. So we're not investors or players.
So you think it's a bubble?
I think it's a very difficult business to understand the fundamentals of, and it's not what we do, you know. So what we do is we enable payment, and we enable blockchain technology. So if you are interested in the blockchain space, it's very difficult not to ignore the largest application to date of blockchain technology, which is crypto or Bitcoin specifically. But it's an enormously fast evolving market, and it's one where, because we have regulated entities specifically in Europe, we've got 2 e-money licenses and we have an investment in a bank there. We really think it's a very rapidly evolving business that requires a lot of innovation. It's an area where we think we can make a big difference, And so that will also be one of the focus areas for us going forward in the post-Sassa era.
Yeah, I mean, just last week you did announce a transaction there, moving further and further into the blockchain space. I mean, exactly how is it helping you do what you do better or easier?
Well, it's a little known fact that our core technology that we deployed in South Africa, and specifically in the Sassa contract, actually is a form of blockchain implementation. So our UEPS EMV technology utilizes a form of distributed ledger that we used to call multiple audit trails. So this is a system where all the transactions that happen within the system is actually recorded on multiple devices or cards. So there's a core competency within the group, and there's always been a core competency within the group. We also have a crypto department that really specializes in the provision of cryptographic solutions. And so when you look at all of these components that we have in the group, we really have what it takes, in my view, to become one of the world leaders in applying the blockchain technology into different fields.
Sure, Herman, and a quick one. I read in December that you were investing in sort of distributing the social grants payments across the continent, working with other African governments. Tell us a little bit about that in 40 seconds.
So very simple. We actually established a joint venture. We found some seasoned payment veterans that used to work for companies like PayPal and MoneyGram in Europe. We really think that there are many other developing countries around the world where they have similar challenges and where they need a payment technology that is able to operate offline, that is able to operate in areas with limited communication, limited electricity supply. And so this joint venture has specifically been established for us to find and pursue those opportunities over the next 12 months or so.
For sure. So this could potentially also replace the 24% in lost revenue of the Sassa contract.
That's right, yes.
Perfect.